Our next topic of choice is multiplying and dividing functions. I don't know if it's a topic of choice, but it's the one we're going to do next. So let's get started. We have f of x is going to be 5x squared and g of x is going to be 3x minus 1. And we're going to multiply these functions. And then we're going to divide them. But we're not going to do as crazy division as we'll do later. So let's just start by multiplying these functions. I'm going to take this 5x squared, which is my f of x, and I'm going to multiply it by my 3x minus 1. Now, note that I put parentheses around it. I need to multiply this 5x squared to this whole thing, not just the 3x. So I put parentheses around it, and we're looking and we're asking ourselves, what can we do to multiply this? Well, we have to use that rule called the distributive rule. So I'm going to distribute this right there. I'm right there. It's got to be evenly distributed. It's not fair to not distribute it evenly to both those two terms. And let's see what I get when I do that. Well, ask yourself, what is 5 times 3? I like to look at the coefficients. 5 times 3 is 15, so I know I get 15 when I distribute that. And then x squared times x is x to the third power. Okay, so we get 15x squared for the first distribution right here. And 5x squared times negative 1 is minus just 5x squared. So when we multiply it, here is our solution. That's the solution. Not too bad, right? Okay, now division is actually almost easier. I'll check out this. Check out division. Division just says find f over g. Well, here's how it works. You just put f on top and g on the bottom. So f over g. Well, my f function is right here, so I just put 5x squared on top over, and then I put my g function on the bottom, 3x minus 1. So I'm at this point, there's my function. Maybe you could simplify it down. Actually, this one, I don't think you can. This is good. Nothing can factor out on the bottom. Nothing to simplify it down. But right after this, it says, state any domain restrictions. Where does this function not make sense? Where is domain restrictions? No. Remember we talked about earlier that you cannot divide, if I have any number, anything on top here, let's put 112. Doesn't matter. What can I not divide this by? What is not allowed? Well, I can't divide it by 0. Well, the same goes true here. I got to make sure that this function, there's certain points of this function that are going to be divided by 0. And when this function is divided by 0, that's called a domain restriction. So I got to figure out when that happens. And here's how you do that. It's as simple as taking the bottom and setting it equal to 0. So I'm going to take this 3x minus 1. I'm going to set it equal to 0. And I'm going to figure out what do I have to put in for x to make this true. Well, let's solve. I'm going to add 1 to both sides, add 1. So now I got 3x is equal to 1. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 3. And so I know when x is equal to 1/3, I will have a domain restriction. Here's my domain restriction to this function right here. So, just to summarize, when you multiply functions, you might need to use the distributive rule. You might even use something called the box method, depending if there's more terms in this one. We might need to go over that later. And for dividing functions, it's fairly easy. You just almost set up the division just like this as of now. There might be some more difficult functions we're going to have to divide and do some other stuff. But after you divide, you got to figure out that domain restriction. And to do that, you set the denominator equal to 0.